Welcome back to the Witching Hour. It's the 9th day of October today, and it's been a busy one for me, so I don't have a lot of energy. So hopefully you can still enjoy this. I hope you are having a great time with these videos. And even if you skip this part, that's fine too. I'm usually done by about 8 minutes or so with this. So we'll continue to read Chapter 8, The Fortune Teller. Frank placed the plaster cast for the key on the workbench and tried the door. Like Joe, he failed to get it open. "What's up?" he wondered. "Maybe it's somebody's idea of a joke," Joe said. Frank looked worried. "I think the locksmith is trying to scare us, or something worse." "Like what?" "Like keep us prisoners," Joe whistled. "How do we get out of here?" They inspected the room. The only exit besides the door was the overhead window. "A bat couldn't get through that," Joe grumbled. "Right," Frank said, "but I've got an idea." Rapidly, he explained his plan. "I hope it works," he concluded. "Might as well give it a try, Frank." They quietly slipped into 2 suits of armor. The metal felt cold, and the joints creaked as they pushed their hands down the arms into the gauntlets. Now they were completely covered from the helmets on their heads down to the greaves in their legs and the iron shoes in their feet. Joe picked up a spiked ball of the type used in medieval battles. "Ready, Frank?" "All set." Joe lobbed the ball up in the air and sent it through the window with a crash, showering broken glass and chips of splintered wood. They heard it bounce on the pavement outside. There was a sound of rushing feet and a loud buzz of voices. "My basketball's set shot," Joe whispered. "Quiet," Frank warned. "Someone's coming." A key turned in the lock. The door swung open, and the locksmith lumbered into the room. The boy's eyes followed him as he searched around. Paying no attention to the suits of armor, he halted a few feet in front of the Hardys. Frank held his breath. Joe wrinkled his nose and just managed to stifle a sneeze. The locksmith looked up at the shattered window, a stunned expression on his face. Then he rushed out, and they heard the tinkle of the bell on the front door. "He's gone!" Frank exclaimed. "Come on, we've got to move fast." Climbing out of the suit of armor, Frank headed for the door, and Joe called urgently after him. "Wait a minute, I'm stuck." Joe could not get his foot past the greave in his left leg. Frank ran back and held it while his brother struggled to work himself loose. "Wiggle your toes," Frank advised. "Hurry!" Joe finally eased his foot free. "Boy, am I glad to be out of that iron overcoat." They ran to the front room of the locksmith's establishment and out the door. At the corner, they peeked around the rear of the building where a crowd was gathered. People were milling about and pointing toward the smashed window. The owner stood holding the spiked ball in his hand and scratching his head in disbelief. "Let him try to figure it out," Frank said. "My guess is he never will," Joe chuckled. "His suspects had 2 suits of armor, and they ain't talking." "Well, how about some refreshments? I'm starved." "Good thinking." They went into a tea shop and ordered tea and cakes. When the last of the food had vanished, Joe said, "Any idea what our pal the locksmith really had in mind?" "He may be in cahoots with Matthew Hopkins," Frank theorized. "Hopkins may be the guy who's wearing the black hat. He could have called ahead and ordered the locksmith to take care of us." "Oh, for Pete's sake." "What's the matter?" "I left the cast of the key." "There goes a clue." "If it was a clue, the locksmith will have smashed it by this time," Frank said. Joe nodded. "So no use to go back. Might as well concentrate on our next project. Let's go see the Soho Witch Collection." They paid their bill and walked down the block, mingling with the throngs who went out for afternoon. A toot tried to sell the Hardys some black market money and quickly moved on when Frank said they were not interested. A sailor, who looked as though he had just jumped ship, followed them and stepped into a pub when he realized they had noticed him. In Soho, there's no telling who's keeping you under surveillance," Frank noted. "That's only a good enough reason to hurry and get out," Joe said. They passed the Medmenham bookstore again and came to a window filled with amulets such as bronze necklace designed to save the wearer from the evil eye. A sign on the door which read "Witchcraft Exhibition." Joe followed Frank through the revolving door. A number of rooms extended before them, crowded with shelves and display cases laden with objects similar to those described in Professor Roubotham's Witch Museum catalog. An old woman was seated at a small table near the door opposite the empty chair. She had a craggy face, piercing black eyes, and a long, crooked nose. The boys noticed she wore a bronze bracelet in her left arm, a red comb in her black hair, and a silk robe studded with shooting stars. "A fortune teller," Frank murmured. "I wonder where she keeps the marked deck." As if reading his mind, the old crone called out, "I am a palmist. I read palms and interpret what I see there. Let me read yours. I never lie." "You might make a mistake," Joe teased her. "Never, oh unbeliever. I am the last of a long line of witches. I know the wisdom of the ages. Trust me." The whole point, Frank thought, is that we don't trust you, aloud he said. Some other time. The palmist glared as the boys strolled past and began to work their way around the witch collection room by room. A number of items appeared to be identical with those pictured in Rowbotham's catalog. One was a silver wand with a gold handle, another was a crystal ball and a bronze tripod. Frank rubbed his chin. Joe, these could be part of the loot taken from the Gryffindor Museum. You're on my wavelength, Frank. I'd say this calls for a conference with the curator. He has some explaining to do. Returning to the first room, they asked the palmist where they could find the curator of the exhibition. He's out for tea, she cackled, so you must wait. Why not pass the time letting me read your poems? You have nothing to lose, have you? I guess not, Frank admitted. Joe sat down in the empty chair and extended his hand. The woman took it in hers and examined his palm for a long time. Suddenly she broke the silence with a loud, "Ha! This is very interesting." What is it? Joe inquired. This pattern of lines in your poem. It tells me you have witch ancestry in your blood. Not bloody likely, Joe quipped. Do not scoff, young man. There is more. Let me see. Yes, your lifeline is extremely short. Prepare yourself for sudden death if you proceed on your present course. Joe shivered in spite of himself as he said he'd heard enough, and Frank took the chair. The palmist surveyed his hand. What? You are hunted by the Witchmaster, she informed him. Has he got a name? Frank asked. The letters are here in your palm. I can read them. Pikenbauch. That is correct. His name is John Pickenbaugh. Frank started when he heard the name. The woman clutched his hand tightly. You'd better leave England, she intoned. You're in grave danger. Frank tried to pull his hand away, but she kept clinging to it, giving a sudden twist. She pressed something as sharp as a needle into his palm. The room swam before his eyes. The face of the palmist became dim. Frank tried to say something to Joe, but the words refused to come. Abruptly, he keeled over. You are haunted by the Witchmaster. I don't like this. And it's appropriate because today is the beginning of spooky games. So get ready for this. So here we are with today's game. A game called Pumpkin Eater. Now I turned off the gore on this. But it's the first day of our spooky games. This, I think, is scary. This is based on the Peter Piper, the guy had a wife but couldn't keep her, put her in a pumpkin shell, and anyway. Peter Pumpkin Eater had a wife but couldn't keep her, put her in a pumpkin shell, and there he kept her just as well. That's it. I don't know, this might be a long game, but we're gonna play at least part of it. Graphic visuals are enabled by default. To censor it, go to preferences. This will not affect the narration. So I did turn this off just for the sake of YouTube and in case any young folks are watching it. So we'll see how this is. Nobody knew how it happened. That was like a boy barely reaching double digits in years was lying dead in the driveway. Gray and red pulp was painted everywhere. Back the car up already! How did he get under there? Lying down to draw? Some freak force of nature? I'm trying, woman! An innocent life was taken too soon and too violently. Was it the will of some cruel god? A woman ran to the body, attempting to reattach fragments of jaw back into the skull. One figure jumped out of the car in pursuit, while the other was frozen in place outside. She had watched the full event unfold in front of her. Baby, speak to me, please! He's dead. No, he's not. Look, he's still moving. Don't you hear him crying? You've gone mad. And you've gone deaf. We need to save our son. There's still hope left. Drive him to the hospital. His brains are all over the pavement. He's already left this world. No, he hasn't. You're a liar. Help me. But... Now, if you care about me and your children... He can't stay out here like this, bringing him inside before the neighbors come. We'll deal with this later. It's okay, it's okay. You can hug me tighter, darling. We didn't mean it. He's still alive. Mommy. Mommy, what's going on? Don't worry, there was just a little accident, but everything's gonna be okay, I promise. We should replace his head. Quick, our garden. A pumpkin should be the best size. The perfect nuclear family torn apart. Their lives would be forever changed. Peter, pumpkin eater, had a wife but couldn't keep her. He put her in a pumpkin shell, and there he kept her very well. See, there it is. I knew it was. The mother stood, panting and admiring her creation, wiping off any blood from her hands onto her apron. It was a little crude, yes, but it worked better than she expected. Oh wow! See, this is the hand-drawn visuals part of this. This is why I was drawn to this game. It's like watercolor painting that they used to make this. It's really cool. Outside, the father stared at the sky while the daughter couldn't look away from the driveway mess. Her head hurt from crying her heart out. It's gonna rain soon. It'll wash everything away as if nothing happened. Are we really not going to do anything? I'll think of something. Daddy is tougher than you think. For now, humor your mother by going along. I'll be hosing down the driveway. He kind of reminds me of Dr. Kaufman. I'll think of something. If you don't want to die, keep your mind on business. I'm scared. I hate this. The father reassuringly patted her on the shoulder. Though he was a man of few words, the father did love his wife, but more importantly, he loved his image. He didn't want his family to be branded as miscreants. They had just committed vehicular manslaughter. There had to be a way of disposing of the body. It is Michael Kaufman! Dinner is ready, you two. Please come inside. The two were greeted by the son, who was sitting in Grandpa's old wheelchair. The most bizarre sight, however, was a pumpkin in place of a human head, its face carved into a welcoming grin. One could still see the remnants of the original crushed head within the holes. See, the head looks just like him. He said he likes his chair, but he wishes it wasn't so squeaky. Dear, could you do me a favor and purchase some oil tomorrow? Of course. Well, everyone, don't just stand there catching flies. Let's wash our hands and begin dinner prayer so we can eat. There was little talk at the table. What was there to say anyway? Despite the gloomy atmosphere, the mother was unusually lively. Here comes the airplane. She was spoon-feeding him. The daughter grimaced at her, shoving mashed potatoes into the son's mouth. The girl looked at the father for guidance, but he did not return her gaze. The daughter focused her attention back to the food on her plate. It smelled good, but the meat resembled an awful lot like her brother's. She dry-heaved. After silently washing the dishes with her mother, the daughter headed straight to bed. She had no energy left in her. It's rude leaving your brother at the table, you know. He's gonna sleep with me? Of course. Why wouldn't he? You two have always shared the bedroom. Why is he so hard to move? His joints all locked up. I swear he was much more relaxed this afternoon. Using all of her strength, the grumbling mother laid the son in his bed. She first tucked the son, then the daughter in, then making sure to kiss each of their foreheads. Sweet dreams, you two. Good night, Mom. With the flick of a switch, the room fell into darkness. Even with the daughter's back turned, she knew those carved eyes were boring into her. Day one. Have a good day at work. Remember what I've told you. Dear. That this is final. Wake up, it's time for school. Her brother was still laying in bed, so it wasn't a nightmare after all. As per usual, the mother tied the daughter's bow, blue, her favorite color. Your brother needs to stay at home for a while so he can recover from his injuries. Listen, whatever you do, don't tell anyone what happened yesterday. It'll be our family's little secret, do you understand? Oh, okay. I'm glad you're so well behaved. Mommy and Daddy trying their best despite our predicament. The girl shuffled off towards the school bus, completely bewildered at the mother's nonchalant attitude. After waving the daughter goodbye, the older woman returned to the house. Only the mother and son remained. Thankfully, his body had loosened up again. It was easier to carry him out of bed and into the wheelchair. Don't get so full of yourself. You still have to study at home. Oh, don't give me that look either. You know puppy dog eyes are my weakness. Today was typically the day she spent cleaning the entire house. Despite her being a stay-at-home mother, it was a full job taking care of the estate, not to mention her family. Is she a stay-at-home mother if the kids go to school? I guess, yeah. She pulled out the vacuum cleaner. Several hours of busy work would be good to take her mind off yesterday's events. Are you thirsty? Would you like me to bring you a drink? You're not. That's fine. If you need anything, just call for me and I'll be there in a jiffy. It was a lovely day today, and her son could use some fresh air. The mother pushed him out to the veranda behind the house that faced the family's pumpkin patch so nosy neighbors could see him. No nosy neighbors could see him. Humming, the mother entered a comfortable cleaning rhythm, letting all worries slip away. The sky suddenly opened up, and the mother was glad for the sudden rain. Their pumpkin patch desperately needed it. Wait, her son was still outside. The mother dragged him inside and threw several towels on him. She pressed against them, drying him as fast as she could. What a fool she was. Taking him outside really was a bad idea. She promised herself she wouldn't slip up like that again. Oh dear, your clothes are soaking wet. I can't have you catching a cold. I'm gonna have to change them if that's alright with you. Dinner was again silent. Usually the daughter was the chattiest, bragging forever about what she had learned in school and her books that day. Now she was poking her stew. I'm guessing censoring the gore just censors the son, which is kind of a shame because it's kind of less scary this way. It takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. The daughter refused to respond. Huffing in annoyance, the mother turned her attention to her husband. Your son and I had a great time together. He was very quiet, but did complete his required reading. I consider that great progress. I'm heading to the bar. Dear, but we haven't finished yet. I'll be back soon. Goodness, what's gotten into everyone? After dinner, as cleanup ended, the mother and daughter went to their separate ways. The mother fell fast asleep in the daughter's bedroom, the girl was looking for any sign of life in her brother. Oh, there we go. Pale skin, dried blood around his neck, and a burgundy discoloration in the arms and hands. It just wasn't human. She reached out for his arm. Touching her brother was a familiar occurrence, play fighting, sharing food. She interacted with him as any sibling would. Even if the two had spent hours in snow, she had never touched a person so cold before. The daughter shrunk back. She lacked the heart to continue calling him a brother. The figure tucked gently in the bed wasn't it. Without a word, she pulled the covers over the body. Day 2. It's school time. Please get dressed. When the daughter awoke, she found the body back to leering at her. The blanket must have slipped off during the night, uncovering the head once more. A fly landed on the pumpkin. Hello, who is this? Yes, I am the mother. Yes, ma'am, I assure you everything's fine with my son. He's been feeling a little under the weather lately. Thank you. Goodbye. The teacher on the phone sounded incredibly displeased. Timeliness and attendance had always been one of the family's virtues, so the mother was quite embarrassed. In addition, the mother felt guilty for not informing the teacher about her son's absence ahead of time, but her husband kept instructing her not to speak about her son's accident. The father did not return that night. To help alleviate the awkwardness, the mother attempted some small talk. So, how was your day today? Learn anything fun? Kind of. Was dinner to your liking? You need to eat your vegetables to grow big and strong. I guess. Your brother was telling me a funny story today about how you both accidentally broke a vase by playing tag. You were so horrified you ran out of the house and climbed a tree to hide. He tried to save you by climbing the tree, but ended up getting stuck there too. You two must have been up there for an hour by the time your father and I came home from the grocery store. I swear, you kids are always up to mischief whenever your parents are out of the house. The mother chuckled and spoon-fed some more broccoli to the son. The house was starting to smell. It was musty, like meat starting to spoil. The daughter knew exactly what was causing that odor, and it made her stomach churn. After dinner, we can put on the radio. The Lone Ranger might be on. You like cowboys, don't you? No, not really. I'm heading to bed. Fine, then. Your brother and I will enjoy the program without you, Miss Grumpy Pants. Chew this story. The mother's first task of the day after sending the daughter and her husband off was to attend to her son. She hadn't noticed it before, but certain areas of the child's skin were discolored. It had the same green and blue hues of a bruise, that the eerie marbling patterns were nothing like she'd seen before. At least it was faint. Were you playing with markers? Pulling on a sponge, she washed the spot, but it refused to scrub off. She retrieved her makeup kit to cover up the blemishes. Tomorrow, she would look for a stronger cleaner for his skin. Again, the father did not return for dinner. The daughter was beginning to think that he had run away for good. She didn't blame him, but why couldn't he take her away with him? As the women were cleaning up, the door flung open. It was father. The daughter's nose crinkled at the heavy liquor smell coming from him. "Him home, and to bed. No dinner needed." "It took you long enough. I'm not happy. Our son needs you right now." "I don't want to hear you nagging, woman." The daughter sprinted to her room before she became caught in the crossfire. She could already hear the screaming in the parents' bedroom, knowing her mother. This could take hours. Like the several days before, the siblings found themselves staring at each other in bed. It was becoming tough to look at him. The foulness of his scent made her eyes burn like moldy salami. She failed to suppress a tremble as she noticed the white fuzz growing in the vegetable's eyes. She felt nothing but sympathy for the corpse. He deserved a proper burial like Grandpa, not kept around in his desecrated state. "Brother, are you in heaven? Are you at peace right now?" The entire family was keeping to themselves in the living room. The father was reading a newspaper, the daughter playing with Jax, the son sitting silently in the corner, and the mother frantically running around, spraying as much bug spray as she could. There are flies everywhere. I'm so sick of their buzzing. I'm worried all the noise is bothering our son. He needs as much sleep as possible to recover. Dear, do you think something went bad in the pantry? If you help me move some boxes, I can clean it out today. Dear, are you listening? The father threw his newspaper on the floor. I'm tired of playing pretend. You're taking this too far. What do you mean? As in, I'm disposing of his body properly. I'm digging his grave, and you will not stop me. Without hesitation, he left the room and returned with a shovel. He grabbed the wheelchair. The mother also latched onto it, pulling it to her side with all her might. Left and right, the bloated body was jostled between the parents, almost ready to topple over and out of its seat. No, leave him alone. You can't keep him like this. Yes, I can. He's our son. Stop scaring him. You, for heaven's sake, he's green and smells like sewage. Does that sound normal to you? The wife should always listen to the husband. Don't be foolish. Once he's buried in the pumpkin patch, she'll never speak of this again. A couple inches to the right, and that china glass would have blinded him. Don't you dare take him away from me! Her outburst was completely uncharacteristic to the father and daughter. It shocked them, too. Who or what had possessed the mother? Please, we can get you some help. You're being hysterical. The mother opened a nearby drawer and grabbed a large knife. She was a good cook and knew her cutlery well. The woman looked terrified, shakily holding the knife, but wholly prepared to strike in defense. I'll die before letting my children in harm's way. You're a danger to us. I'll do it. I'm not afraid to do it. The father dropped the shovel, backing slowly away until he was trapped against a wall. Unfortunately for him, the mother closed the distance between the two. That's right. You were the one who ran him over in the first place, so don't you dare lay another finger on his head, murderer! I've been following your every order, but look where that's gotten us. For the sake of our children, I think it's time you started listening to me. We're going to continue taking care of our son because he had a nasty accident and needs our help. Do you understand? The wife raised the knife at his face. I said, do you understand? Yes, I understand. Don't hurt me. Good. Now we're going to have ourselves a nice little dinner. Any objections? The room stayed silent. Mother's demeanor became gentler, but she continued to grip the knife as if her life depended on it. I'm glad, sweetheart. Please follow Mommy and help her out. We're returning your brother to the bedroom. I think things are a little too loud for him around here. You two have been so inconsiderate. Happy birthday! Unwrap it already. Wow, a bike, thank you. Sure thing, sport. How about we break it in after the party? Yes, please. This is the best day ever. Can I ride it too? No way, you still need training wheels. Mom, he's being mean to me. Don't get too rowdy. You still have to unwrap the last of your presents. Who else wants another slice of cake? Are you mad at Mommy and Daddy for hurting you? Oh, thank goodness. goodness, I feel so relieved. I always tell your daddy to be more careful when he's driving, but he never listens. The mother picked out another maggot and tossed it into a bin. It was starting to overflow, but at least she was making progress in moving the swimming creatures. I know. That feels much better, doesn't it? She was a patient woman. His healing process shouldn't take much longer. Oh, this is where the gore would come in. Probably you start seeing like a corpse instead of the... I was a little late today waking you up. Please get dressed as soon as possible. Oh, those are black because that's the gore also. Bottle after bottle, the mother used her aerosol freshener and helped air out the room. Thwack, with her other hand, she squashed a scuttling beetle. By now, she was certain that something went bad in the pantry, for there was such a large bug infestation. As much as she was looking forward to it, she may have to clean the entire pantry. She smacked a fly who was resting on top of her son's head. Oh my, I'm sorry for using the fly swatter on you. Did that hurt? While the mother was hard at work cleaning the house, the daughter nowadays avoided going inside as much as possible. Every day when she came home, her brother's body would be happily greeting her. She just couldn't handle the rotting sights and smells anymore. The smell of his exudation was overpowering. Green and brown juices dripped from his head and soaked his clothes. It wasn't rotting meat or spoiled milk anymore. It was death. No kids wanted to be near her either. In the corner of her eye, she could see them gag and hold their noses as if she was the deceased one herself. Are you sure you don't want to stay with me a little longer? I can't. I have to get back home to my wife. Oh, jeez. You sure you want to stay with me a little longer? I can't. I have to get back home to my wife. But you've been looking so stressed recently. Is everything okay at home? The father let out a deep sigh. Not particularly. I think my marriage has fallen apart. Oh dear. Oh dear indeed. I haven't been treated the best recently. My wife's been so demanding, screaming at me for the littlest things. She's strutting around like she wears the pants around the house now. I can't get any peace and quiet in my own home. I need to show her who's boss. She can't keep pushing me around like this. I'm a man, for God's sake. I wish you luck. You can always keep crawling back to me like your wounds. Where have you been? It's rather late. Work. Our son was asking you today because you failed to shop for supper again. You're worrying him sick. Every single day you talk about that damn son. I don't like how you... You do your job and make the money. I take care of the house and kids. Why is that so hard for you to understand, yet you call me foolish? He was humiliated how quickly she shut him down. At least she couldn't dictate his actions outside of the home. He berated himself for his cowardice. Darling, I'm sorry dinner was a little rushed. Taking care of your brother was so consuming most of my day today. It was worse than rushed, more like she threw random ingredients, inedible or not, into a pot. This past week, it seemed the most of her meals were ending in a similar fate. The daughter poked a semi-charred apple with her fork. Where is this going? I keep thinking it's going to be over already, but it keeps going. Ah! There was a maggot living in her food. Oh my, what have I told you about not washing your hands before you eat? You need to wash them more frequently. Were you playing outside? Stop it already. How can you two continue pretending everything is normal? Dear, tell her that everything is normal. The father looked like he was in a trance, rhythmically chewing his food without a care in the world. Listen to your mother more. She knows best. It's not true. Why do you insist on talking back? You're a child. You don't understand anything. Treat your parents with some respect. The mother began to spoon-feed the body again, the spoon's contents also hardly containing maggots. A milk-white maggot slipped from the softening pumpkin head and landed in the spoon, oblivious to the mother. Yummy, isn't it? Oh God, she was going to retch. I'm going to my room. As you should. No supper for the rest of the night. The daughter was forced to cart the body back into their bedroom, making sure to avoid touching his slimy body as little as possible. His abdomen, distended beyond belief, was stretching to rip through the clothes. The gorging insects were taking delight in how he was a balloon ready to pop. Who knew what putrid horrors were trapped inside him? The girl fell to her knees weeping. Mother kept saying everything was fine, but of course it wasn't. What wouldn't she give to return to normalcy? Whatever did she do to deserve this torture? If only she and her brother hadn't been roughhousing when the car came. When she looked up, the body was now facing away from her, giving her some semblance of privacy during her grief. Or was he always facing that way? She couldn't remember. Thank you. Of course, there would be no response, yet she still felt the urge to say something. I miss you, brother. I miss you so much.